Welcome to SHOWOFF SHOWDOWN! In this series, the fighters are called SHOWOFFs, and this is the series for the SHOWOFF SHOWDOwn! Now let's meet the SHOWOFFs for tonight's showdown, shall we? Tonight, we have a hardcore, brutal, badass battle between the Demon Prince and Demon Slayer! That's right, Doomguy versus Hellboy! Will Hellboy meet his doom, or will Doomguy burn in the fires of hell? It's time to find out! I put links to the analysis of both characters in the description below. Now without further ado, it's time for the SHOWOFF to Showdown!
Get ready for the next battle.
All the other kids with the bumped up kisses better run, now run my gun. All the other kids with the bumped up kisses better run, faster than my bullet. All the other kids with the bumped up kisses better run, now run my gun. All the other kids with the bumped up kisses better run, faster than my bullet.
Welp, looks like Doomguy met his ultimate doom! Get it?
Now let's discuss how and why Hellboy wins this hardcore demonic showdown. Now before we start, not sure if anyone has ever noticed this, but the music that's currently playing in the background right now is actually a Doom soundtrack. Just thought you'd find that interesting. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's start off with who's more skilled and experienced. Now, I believe Hellboy is over 70 years old despite looking much younger, so he should have more experience in general, although Doomguy definitely has a lot of fighting experience, especially when it comes to fighting demons, which will definitely help him in this battle. While both fighters are very skilled in multiple types of firearms, melee weapons, and hand-to-hand combat, I think it's safe to say that Hellboy is technically smarter and more clever than Doomguy, especially considering the fact that Doomguy isn't really much of a strategist, and he usually prefers to rush in and overpower his opponents. He's basically a mixture of brawn over brain and shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. Enough said. Now let's discuss strength. Now, both fighters are quite impressively strong in their own right. Not only is Doomguy strong enough to casually tear demons limb from limb with little effort, but he can also punch the Cyber Demon and Spider Mastermind to death with his bare hands with a Berserker pickup, which is quite impressive considering how big and tough these kinds of demons are. Now as for Hellboy, not only can he easily break concrete and casually snap steel, but he's also strong enough to lift at least 2 tons, if not more, lifted a huge boulder and crushed metal with it, threw a giant tree trunk into a giant's neck, shattered a Hydra head in 2, and even one-shotted a dinosaur. Now rather if Hellboy is physically stronger than Doomguy or not is debatable, although I think it's safe to say that Hellboy's Prince of Hell form would very likely be stronger than Doomguy. Now let's discuss durability. Not only is Doomguy's armor tough enough to tank a lot of demonic abuse, but he can also tank multiple rounds of plasma, explosions, and attacks from demons capable of tearing grown men in half easily. Not to mention, he can survive at least 2 rockets from the Cyber Demon before the point of death. Now as for Hellboy, he casually tanks and walks off explosions on a regular basis, survived getting impaled multiple times, can fall from hundreds if not thousands of feet and walk it off like nothing, regularly takes hits from giant monsters and robots, he's completely immune to fire and electricity, and he even tanked a massive explosion that destroyed an entire castle. So clearly Hellboy is definitely a lot harder to put down than he looks. Not to mention, Hellboy also has a healing factor, which is yet another tough obstacle that even Doomguy will have a hard time getting past. Now let's see what weapons they got packed up their arsenal. As most of you may know, Doomguy has got a lot, and I mean a lot of weapons packed up his arsenal, including pistols, shotguns, rifles, machine guns, chain guns, chainsaws, rocket launchers, plasma guns, etc. And he somehow carries and wields them all at once. Not to mention, Doomguy also has a few temporary power-ups, such as supercharge, partial invisibility, invulnerability, and of course Berserker mode. Now while Hellboy doesn't have as many weapons in his arsenal as Doomguy, he makes up for his lack of quantity with quality. For example, Hellboy has the right hand of Doom, a virtually indestructible gauntlet-like weapon grafted onto his right hand since he was born. Not only that, but he also has a very powerful handgun built for one-shotting. And there's the big baby, a miniature handheld rapid-fire rocket launcher. He has a few types of grenades and melee weapons, and the Excalibur sword that King Arthur once wielded, and not to mention an amulet used to resurrect Hellboy should he die in the process. Now, even though Hellboy has a vastly small arsenal compared to Doomguy, it won't really matter in the long run, because one of the most important categories of this debate would most likely be speed. While Doomguy is very fast in his own right, being able to dodge gunfire and even outrun his own rockets, but Hellboy, on the other hand, can definitely top this. Not only has he been seen blitzing enemies multiple times, but he once snatched a missile out of the air, which kinda makes Doomguy's rocket launcher somewhat useless in this scenario. Not only that, but Hellboy can also dodge gunfire as well as lightning and even lasers, which means he could potentially avoid just about everything Doomguy has to throw at him. Although Hellboy does usually focus on tanking hits that he knows won't damage him very much, so that might conflict it a bit. Now, it seems I forgot to mention their strongest weapons earlier, such as everyone's favorite, the BFG, as an example. However, as powerful as it is, considering that it takes a few BFG rounds just to kill a Cyber Demon, I doubt that even the BFG-10 would be enough to put down Hellboy so easily. If anything, Doomguy's best shot at taking down Hellboy would most likely be the Unmaker, a weapon that directly feeds on the demonic energy of the target. And considering that Hellboy obviously has demonic heritage, the Unmaker is more likely to affect and harm Hellboy than most of Doomguy's other weapons. However, because of the clear speed advantage I mentioned earlier, it's highly unlikely that Doomguy would be able to unmake Hellboy so easily. Besides, I haven't even talked about Hellboy's strongest weapon yet, now have I? Now, Hellboy's most powerful or destructive weapon would most likely be his Vulcan 65 grenade, which is even more powerful than the Vulcan 50, which is powerful enough to blow up an entire mountain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it takes roughly 248 megatons of TNT to destroy a mountain, which is the equivalent of nearly 5 Tsar nukes. Way more than enough power to put Doomguy out of commission for good. I think I've said enough. So overall, while an opponent like Doomguy would definitely put up a good fight against someone like Hellboy, but with Hellboy having just about every statistical advantage over Doomguy, and more than enough destructive firepower to finish him off, I think it's safe to say that Hellboy has what it takes to really give Doomguy hell to pay. So, in the end, Doomguy has suffered a very brutal doom. Fine, I'll stop. The winner of this battle is Hellboy.
Got any ideas for Show-Off Showdown? Then let me know in the comments below, and hopefully, I just might do them. Now stay tuned for the next episode of Show-Off Showdown!